Hey everyone, welcome to a new video. In this video, we're going to be going over a key lock door sort of clue system. So effectively what we've got is we've got a door that needs a code to open. And the code is hidden somewhere within the game. So there's a few things we're going to be doing here. One is going to be the animation of a door opening. It's just going to be a very basic slide open door, something like sci-fi sort of thing. The code block is going to appear when you approach the door, and the code is going to be randomly generated, and there's going to be three codes, and they're going to be spread across the game, and you've got to find which one it is. So there's a few things to cover. So the sliding door, the code block, the code entry and check-in, and also the sort of clues. So yeah, there's quite a few bits and pieces to it. And this video is brought to you by the Discord community. Obviously, a lot of what I do these days is not so much videos anymore. You've probably noticed by the slowdown of videos. But effectively, most of my time spent helping people more or less one-to-one on Discord. So if you've got any questions or if you're struggling with anything, feel free to join the Discord. And who knows, I might make a video about what you've asked me about. Anyway, so thank you to Jay. You know who you are. This video it was birthed from you. So let's just have a quick look at what we've got. Now, just ignore all the other stuff in this project. This is a project built of a combination of so many people's questions. So there's all sorts of stuff going on. And if you recognise a few bits and pieces here, well, you know, hats off to you. Anyway, so what we've got is we've got this system here. We've got a big door. And at the moment, my clear button closes it. But when you approach the door, you've got to type in a number, hit confirm, and nothing happens if it's wrong. So what we're doing is, oh, we've got a random number here, 7582. Oh, there's another number over there, 3579. And I'm not going to be able to remember all these, but let's try 7582 first. So 7582. That's not the right code. So what was the other number? 3579. Skip that one. 3579. And that wasn't it either, so there must be another code somewhere. Oh, there's one. 8608. Let's try that one. 8608. And there we go. Door open, and the door closes behind you. Now, obviously, if you approach the door again, it'll prompt you for the same number. And then you can get through. So that's pretty much the project that we're going to do today. So yeah, let's. What I'll do is I'll just quickly pause here, start a fresh project, and we can start from scratch. Okay, so we've got a fresh project open. So what I'll do is we'll just start off with a door, I think. There is a chance that I'm going to break this video up into pieces, so I'm going to try and sort of modulize this video. Start off with some basics. So first things first, I'm just going to make the door because we're going to need a door. Obviously, I like to keep things simple. I like to make my videos beginner friendly. So first things first, content browser. We're going to right click and we're going to create an actor. BP underscore slide door. Just like that. Let's open that up. Now, sliding doors are quite simple to make. We're going to use a timeline for an animation. So it's relatively simple. Anyway, so head over to the event graph, and what we're going to want to do is I'm just going to delete all of these default nodes, and we'll pull them back in when we need them. So first things first, I need to make a door actually. So over on the components on the left, I'm going to go to add, and I'm just going to add a cube. And my cube is going to be, let's say, 2 wide. No, let's keep, 2 wide is probably a good number. And then we'll go maybe 3 high, real big door. And the Y is absolutely fine the way it is. Okay, and then we're going to need a collision box. A collision box just detects when something enters it or hits it. And so that's going to be for our character to walk into. So I'm going to look for a box collision. This box collision, I'm going to make, let's say, slightly wider on the width. So, what, 110. For the height, we're going to go for, what is it, 3... I guess it doesn't need to be bigger than the door, but we'll do 310 as well. Oh, that's the wrong way, isn't it? We'll do, what would it be? Maybe 70. So you have to bump into the door. You can't activate it unless you're actually going to the door. And then for the height, I think it's going to be 300. That's too much. 200. That's too much too. 180. 150. That'll do. It just covers the door in its entirety. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the cube and I'm going to click and drag on it and drop it onto the box. This has parented the actual door, let's say, to the collision box. Now, I'm just going to change the colour of my door to orange, just for it to fit the appearance. And what I'm going to also do is, on our actual door cube, I'm going to add another cube, and I'm just going to shrink this down. So, looking at the scale, it's already shrunk, so 0.1. And let's go 0.1, and we don't need the thickness to be that big as well, so 0.2, something like that. Drag this forward, and it's going to just be sort of like a superficial code lock, just to give the appearance that it's somewhat rather than just a square. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate that, pull one to the back. Oh, I'm going to try and pull one to the back. Pull one to the back, just so it pokes out a bit. Pull it over to the other side. And there we go. So no matter which side you're on, it looks like there is at least something. Great. Hit compile. Now let's just chuck it into our game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this over here. Rotate this around by 90 degrees. Bring this up. And just place it on the actual ground. So we'll just block this doorway here. Now, when I press play, I'm going to spawn all the way over here, and I'm going to have to run over here every time. So just for this tutorial, I'm just going to drag my player start. So then when I press play, we start in front of the door, and that looks all right. Sweet. So now what we're doing is we're walking into the door, and the overlap event is happening, but we've not actually written any code or a blueprint to say what to do when something overlaps. So let's select our collision box, and if you scroll down on the right underneath your details panel, eventually you'll get down to the events. Now the event we want is a begin overlap. So when a component overlaps this box, we want to do something, so we'll give that a click. And if you want to just get it out of the way, if you click back on your box, we also want an end overlap. So when we've entered it, do this, and when we leave the box or end the overlap event, do something else. Okay, so what do we want to do when we overlap? We want to move the door somewhere. So first things first, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure the actor that has overlapped this box is a character. Now the way I like to do this, just to be cheeky, is I cast to a character class. So effectively, our third person player, if we go to third person blueprint and get our third person character, if you open this up, you'll see in the top right hand corner that its parent class is a character. Now my actual class is a third person character, but its parent class is a character. Character is just something with arms and legs and can move around. So if we cast to a character, my character should successfully cast to this because of its parent. So let's say you've got something that moves around in your world and it suddenly overlaps your door. You don't want something else in the world to sort of interact with your door. And if this cast is successful rather than a failure, we know it's a character. So we cast to a character, and then we want to do something. So effectively, I'm going to add a timeline, and a timeline is something that has, well, it's a timeline. So it has a start and an end point, and what you can do is you can get certain information to, like you can have a number which is generated based on its position in that timeline. So it might start from 0 and end at 1, and we can have that number outputted via a timeline. So every time it updates, we can do something based on that new number. So we can go for 1 second, move the position of the door, and then if we play it in reverse, we'll bring the door back down. That's exactly what we're going to do. So I'm going to call this door slide. And to get inside the timeline, we just want to double click on it. Okay, so the length of the track. So this is how long do you want this thing to happen? Now, because we're doing an animation, I don't want a 5-second door open. That's going to be quite long. 1 second might be too fast, so I'm going to go 2 seconds. So length of 2, add a track, and you can add different types of tracks here, but I want to do a float track because what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a lerp node, which basically just allows you to go from one location to another smoothly using a float value, which is referred to as an alpha. So we'll get to that in just a minute. So I'm just going to call this track alpha, which will be appropriate in just a minute. Now, this is the timeline by default, so we can see we've got 2 at one end and 0 at the other end. And if we hold shift and just click, we will get these little blue sort of dots. Now, these are almost like keyframes in some respect of we want a value assigned to these dots. So what I'm just going to do is with this first dot selected, I'm just going to neaten it up and say this is going to start at 0 and my value is going to be 0. And then the second one, I'm just going to change the time to 2 and I'm going to set the value to 1. So what's going to happen is over 2 seconds, my value is going to slowly increment towards a value of 1. And what we can do is, this is pretty linear at the moment. If you click on your first node and right click and set to auto, you'll see you get this nice smoothed, it'll gradually smooth in and then gradually sort of smooth out. So that's pretty much it. So we can close this little door slide timeline. And you can see now we've got this alpha node, this output. So this is going to go from 0 to 1 over 2 seconds. And this, as that changes, this update execute will keep triggering as this changes. So what we want to do is we want to do something called a lerp. And we want to lerp a vector. So effectively, but the reason we're using a vector is a position in the world. So it'll have an X, a Y, and a Z value of where you are. And if you hover over this entire node, you'll see a linearly interpolates between A and B based on an alpha. So we have 100% of A when alpha is 0 and 100% of B when alpha is 1. So as my alpha becomes 1 from 0, we will slowly transition our position from this place to this place. So what do we want to update? We actually want to update the location of our door. So what we can do is we can grab our cube. Let's grab the cube. The reason we want to grab the cube is because the door is going to slide out of the way, but if the actual whole, the whole box itself moves out of the way, our overlap event is going to end and the door is going to close on us because we're going to have it come back down when we've left the area. So if we only move the cube, the thing that's blocking us, the door, is going to move out of the way but leave the sort of collision box to detect once we've left the door's area, and then that door will come back down. That's effectively what we're going to do. So we're only going to move the cube. So with that cube just dragged out, what we're going to do is we're going to set location. So set world location, just like that. Go to update. So every time this timer sort of changes or goes from like 0.1 of a second, 0 to 0.1 of a second to 0.2 of a second to 0.3 of a second, every loop we're going to be changing this location, and obviously the alpha is going to be changing as well, so we can connect that up. And the output of this lerp is going to be where we want the location to be. So that's pretty much all set up. all we need to input now is just its location. So how are we going to get our cube's location? Now, you might think, oh, let's just get world location. Now, this isn't quite right, because as we update our world location, this is going to change. So we kind of need to know where the world location was to start with. So best thing for this, if we just take both of these and copy them, let's just get rid of that one. What we can do is we can now promote this to a variable and put original location. Let's put world location. World location. Just like that. So original world location. And we'll do this at the event begin play. So when we first press play in the game, this is just going to record where we've put the door in the world. And that's going to be our default location. So this is going to be A, so we can now drag that over and plug this in. So that's going to be our A. And where do we want the B to be? So what we can do is we can get that original location and we can actually add a vector to it. So let's add 200 units to the Z and pop that in as our B. So if everything works right now, what should happen is when we overlap this box, it should play and move from our original location to our modified original location. So 200 units above, and that's going to set the world location. Now, obviously, we want to do the opposite when we leave. So we can, again, we can check to make sure it was a character if we want to, but I find that a little bit unnecessary. You'll have to try it. Effectively, two things can enter at the same time, but if one thing leaves which is not the character, it could come down on the character. So it's probably a good idea to just double check that it is a character. Now, if it's multiplayer, you might want to make an array and have a unique, or make sure every act, there's nothing underneath it. You might want to do this a completely different way in multiplayer. Multiplayer is not considered in this instance. Try it, see what happens. Either way, when we end the overlap event, we're just going to check to see if it is a character, and then we're going to play this in reverse. Let's hit compile and let's play. I'm going to press save as well because sometimes Unreal likes to crash on me unexplainably, and it's really annoying, to be honest. So let's hit play and let's see what happens. So one thing's for sure, I need to sort that door out. I think I might have left it out of alignment. So let's move over. So the door moves out of the way, we run through, and now the door is closing behind us. Let's go back to the viewport, and why is our door so high up? So I've not messed that up. My door is no longer in the world. Where's my door gone? Sliding door, unloaded. Oh, Unreal, you're a nuisance. Third person maps. Let's open this map again. There we go. It's been reloaded. And let's just drag this door down to the world. Hit play. And there we go. So run over to the door. Opens up. Run away. Door closes. So looking at this now, maybe we do want the door to go a little bit higher. So I'm just going to come back and I'm just going to adjust that to maybe 250 units. So that's absolutely fine. So we've got a system now where we've got a door. Now, obviously, we don't need a code for this because effectively it's just going to open every time. Right, so now we need to make some sort of code lock. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and obviously please put each of these items in an appropriate folder. I'm just going to skip over that because I don't really have a place to put them, but you know, everything related to each other, put it in the appropriate place. Don't just dump it in your content browser because your content browser becomes a mess real quick and it's not very good practice. So I talked over that, but effectively right click, go to user interface, and we're going to go to a widget blueprint. Widget blueprints are things you can have displayed on the screen. So let's get that. So let's rename it. So WBP for widget blueprint underscore code lock. Code lock. Very good. So what do we want? Now, I spent a little bit of time on this for myself. I'm probably not going to spend as much time on this one. It's going to be a little bit rough around the edges, but I'm going to show you most of what I did. So what do we want? What I'm probably going to do is I'm just going to get a quick reference up of what it looks like, just so I don't make a mess of it completely. There we go. So start off with a canvas panel, and we're going to do a size box, so then we can specify how big we want it to be. I'm going to do width and height overrides, and for my width and my height, I'm going to go for, I think, about maybe 400 wide, and let's do size to content so we can see it, and then maybe 500 high, something like that. That should be fine. Then we're going to do an overlay. Now, an overlay allows you to stack multiple things on top of each other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give the entire background a black background just to get it started. So I'm using an image, select the image, and I guess we could rename this to BG for background. And I'm just going to change the color and opacity down to black, and then I'm going to set the fill horizontally and fill vertically. So there we go, we've got a solid black background. From that, I'm going to add a vertical box. So back down to panels, add a vertical box to the, I think, yeah, to the overlay. And then what the vertical box, we're going to go fill horizontally. And I don't think I want to fill vertically. I don't, probably. Okay, so at the top, what we want is we're going to want the sort of screen area. So for that, I'm actually going to do another overlay. So you'll see that as put it in the top. Now, because the overlay allows us to stack different things on top, I'm actually going to chuck in another image just to give a bit of colour. So another image there, fill horizontally, and then I'm going to change the colour to, I don't know, like a nice blue like that. Now, to give it sort of like a nicer appearance, I'm going to go into the brush, and on the draw as, instead of image, I'm going to do rounded box, and I want to give it a bit of padding. So let's give it sort of 10 padding, and you'll see that that gives you sort of like this nice rounded effect. And to be honest, I think I want a little bit of padding on, maybe when I put the text in it, it's going to be a little bit bigger. But effectively, the screen needs a text. So the next thing to put inside this image, or the overlay, should I say, is going to be a text. And I don't think that's quite worked out as I expected. So my text has gone in my vert box rather than in my overlay. So there we go. So the text itself is going to be center aligned. So center horizontally and center vertically. And do we want a bit of padding on the text? Maybe. Let's see. I added 5 padding to the text. So just add 5 padding, and it doesn't really make that much of a difference. But we're going to change the font size as well in just a minute. Let's change the the text to a placeholder 0000, and let's change the font size maybe to 36. And then this is where our image starts to get a bit unusual. So maybe we do want to fill vertically on the screen. Let's change this image name to screen. There we go. So if you're ever losing track, or if I'm going a little bit too fast, I hate clogging up videos with an hour's worth of UI just not to do anything, and it's all design. Please keep an eye on my hierarchy. Pause the video, rewind, and just keep track of what I'm doing. I'll try and explain as much as possible, but if you lose track, I don't want to go too slow on this, because again, it will clog up the video. Right, so we've got basically where we want the text. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to rename the text block, the zeros, to code text. And I always mess up some capitalization somewhere, but I also want to tick that it is a variable. With this ticked, it allows us to see it in the graph, and we can edit it a little bit better. Okay, so after we've got the code text, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of close this overlay just for a second, and I'm going to look for a spacer. We're going to add a spacer in the vertical box, and I don't want it in the, oh, there it is. So with the spacer selected, we're just going to make it a little bit chunkier. So we'll do 25, just to make sure that the keys that we're about to add don't sit too close to the screen, because I think it looks a little bit unusual. Okay, so for the buttons, now the buttons are obviously nicely aligned in sort of like columns and rows, and there's a really neat panel for that, and it's the uniform grid panel. This just keeps everything organized for you automatically. Now, it doesn't look like much at the moment, but what we're going to do is we're going to grab a button and chuck it on the grid panel, and we're going to chuck a text inside the button. Okay, now this bit is going to be tedious, so I will do a couple. I'll pause, and then I'll come back when the rest are done. But I'm just going to copy and paste effectively, and it is a bit tedious, and I don't want to again clog the video up with junk. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the first row, and then I'll do the rest of the buttons sort of paused. So button 1. So if we rename this. By the way, you can press F2 on your keyboard. That's a shortcut for renaming. Just select the field that you want, press F2, and you see that it brings you back up. So button 1, just have it like that. Go to the text block and change the text to 1, and it should be vertically and center aligned, so you should be okay. And I think we want to, center align and vertically align. I'm not too sure. We'll find out in just a minute. What we want to do is, with the button selected, now we've got these numbers set up, is Control and D for duplicate, and it's copied exactly the same. So we want to F2, change this to button 2, just like that. Go down to the text, change the text to 2, and you can see that they're on top of each other. So if you go over to the button and you click on the right arrow, they're now uniformly spaced. So if we do this a third time, as you may have already guessed, let's go back into rename, change that, select the text, change that to number 3. They're on top of each other again, click on that. So you can see that you're getting this sort of uniform effect. Now, what we can do is we can select all of these buttons and... Oh, as if it doesn't let you do that anymore. You might, oh, sorry, you have to press Control and click the individual buttons. If you select multiple of the same type, it allows you to change the values. So I'm going to do something like that, maybe. That's pretty neat. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the uniform grid panel, select that, and we can say here, like, do we want padding? So yes, I want 5 padding, so it just brings the buttons in a bit away from the edge. Maybe a little bit more, maybe 10. But I also want to space each slot, if you will. So let's add some padding to the slots. So we've got 5, and that puts a nice uniform amount of padding around the buttons. And I think that looks really good. So effectively, what we're going to do now is we're just going to duplicate the next button, and we're just going to press it down. Oops, missed that. Just going to press down and left, left. So now we've got button number 4, and as you've probably assumed, we're going to do this for the rest of the numbers. So I'm going to pause just for a sec, get all this sorted, and then I'll meet you back. I'll meet you back here, I guess. Okay, so we're back. So as you can see, what I've done is let's have a look. What I've done is I've added all the rest of the buttons. So I've given them all their unique numbers. So button 5, text 5, button 6, text 6. But then on the bottom row, I've also added confirm, 0, and clear. So the text obviously for confirm is just confirm, but I am going to reduce the font size down to 12, just so it doesn't look as weird. But I also want to fill vertically on the button, not the text. So let's go back to the button and fill vertically, and that should just fill that gap the same as the rest. So I'm also going to select the button itself, not the text, and change the color of it to, whoops, let's return that back to what it was. Change the background color, sorry, to a greeny color. And then for clear, we're also going to do the same. So I've just abbreviated confirm to CFM and clear to CLR. Again, let's change the font size down to 12 and change the button to vertical fill. And just change the background color to red. Let's just do that manually. Tab out of that. Let's give it a slight. I don't want it to be red, but I don't want it to be. That'll do. That'll do. Okay, so that's pretty much it. What you can do is, if that's too close, you can either reduce the size of your size box, or you can add a bit more to the spacer to sort of give you a bit more space from that. You could add a spacer before the overlay at the top, just to bring the screen down a bit. So let's pop that in. Whoops, where did that go? Let's pop that. Where do these keep disappearing to? So there's let's grab this spacer here and let's just pop it up at the top. I guess that doesn't like that, maybe because it's an overlay. But something is not quite working for this. So there we go. Let's click these arrows instead and move it up the hierarchy, up to the top. And let's pull that down a little bit. So there we go. I like that. Maybe 25. Let's keep it a little bit uniform. Obviously, you can change the size of your screen, add some more padding, do other stuff. But really, that's pretty much it for the visual aspects of it. Now, when it comes to the buttons, this is where it starts to get a little bit tedious again. Obviously, each button is going to need an event. So let's delete that. So button 0, on pressed. Button 1, on pressed. Button 2, on pressed. Button 3, on pressed. Button 4, on pressed. Button 5, on pressed. Now, obviously, we're going to need to do this for all of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk through what we need to do. Let's do the first one, and then we're just going to rinse and repeat. Again, I'm going to pause just to save the video from being 2 hours long for no reason. So what we need to do. Each of these numbers, if I press the number 1, I want the first digit to become number 1. Then when I press number 2, after number 1, I want the second digit to become 2. Then I want the third digit to be number 3, and then I want the fourth digit to be number 4. And then if I press a fifth number, the way I like to do it is I want it to sort of carry back around and reset the first one. So the fifth one becomes 1 again, the sixth becomes the second one again, the seventh, and you can see the pattern. Effectively, keep clicking numbers, and the sort of number keeps rolling around on itself. Now, to do this, the way I found the best to do is to make an array. So it's probably easier if we just get ahead with it and then sort of explain it once we can see it. So let's, inside the graph, let's add a variable, and the variable is going to be input called array. You don't have to put array, but it clarifies what it is. It's going to be an array of integers. Integers are just single-digit numbers without decimal places. And then if we come down to the variable type, we can click on this little bean and change it from single to an array. Hit compile just to sort of lock that in. And if we scroll down, we'll see this default value. There's 0 array elements. Now, if we press this 4 times, because we've got 4 digits in our code, you can see now that we've got sort of 4 integers, 4 separate numbers all on their own. So you can see they go up incrementally. So index 0 is 0, index 1 is also 0, so we can change this to 1, and index 2 to 2, and index 3 to 3. Okay, so we've got an array here, and when we press this button, I want to set the first one to whatever number it was. So this would be arguably I don't want button 0 at the top. So when I press number 1, I want to set the first array element to 1, and then when I press button 2, I want to change the second one. Okay, so how are we going to do that? So what we want to do is, because we've got buttons, we need to do it kind of manually. So let's drag out this input array. What we'll say is we want to set an array element. Okay, so this node takes in an array, so the array of codes. So we know our array has 4 elements, and it's the 4-digit code. And the first time we press it, we want index 0, so that's true. But then when we press the second button, we want the index to be 1. So what we should probably do, we're going to need to sort of incrementally go through this array. So let's promote this index to a variable, and let's just change the name of this to current index, just like that. And obviously we're going to be pressing button number 1. Let's connect these up. When we press button number 1, obviously the number we want assigned to this index is going to be number 1. And then obviously if we just duplicate that, number 2 is purely going to be, I'll tell you what, let's just copy the whole lot. Let's put this in. I'll get to this index in just a sec, but effectively we're going to rinse and repeat all of these. All of this is going to be the same. We're just going to have to copy everything you've got there all the way down, but changing the item. So if we press 3, item's going to be 3. Press 4, item's going to be 4. But this bit's always going to be the same. However, obviously that index is not going to change. So if we ran this now, well, nothing would happen right now because we're not telling the input code array to display on the actual screen, which we'll sort that out in just a minute. Every time we press the button, we want this index to change. We want it to add 1 each time. So what we can do is, let's grab our current index, and let's say every time we press this button, we add 1 to it. So if you do plus plus, you'll get an increment int. So every time we press this button, add 1 to the index. So it will start at 0, then when we press this button again, maybe, the index will be 1, then it'll be 2, then it'll be 3, then it'll be 4, but we don't have 4 elements, so it's going to be looking for something that doesn't exist. So we need to know how big this array is, so we don't go past it. So grab our input code array, get that, and what we want to do is we want to get the length of it. Now if you get the length of an array, it will report back how many items are in that array. So for us, it will come back and say 4. Now the problem with 4 is our indexing starts at 0. So this comes back and says you've got 4 items in this array. So if we said, well, when this index gets to 4, stop, or go back to 0, that would be wrong technically, because we really, when it gets to the third one, we want to reset it, because we don't have a fourth element, so we'd be looking for something that doesn't exist. So let's get the length of the array. Let's minus 1 from it, like that. So we're going to get 3. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say, well, if this current index becomes greater than 3, let's just get rid of this for now. If it becomes greater than 3, branch, if that happens to be true, let's set our current index, so drag this out, set. Let's set our index to 0, so we go back to the beginning. If it's not greater than 3, then we're going to increase it. So every time we press the button, now we are, let's plug this together, it's not going to do anything. Every time we press the button, now what's going to happen is it's going to go, is the index bigger than my length? No, it's 0. Alright, increase it then. And then when we get to the third one, we're going to click it again. And we're going to go, hang on, is the index bigger than 3? Oh, yeah, it's 4 now. Right, well, don't. Set it back to 0. So we've created a loop. So our index is dynamic as well, actually, because if you make it a 5-digit code or a 6-digit code, this is always going to work. But the thing that's going to make this look messy is we're going to have to connect everything to it. So you could, if you want to, you could highlight all of this and collapse this to a function. And let's call this update array index. There you go. So everything, we're going to have to duplicate this a lot, and every one of these. So for the next number, duplicate. Whoops. Okay. Let's duplicate it. Bring that down. Obviously, don't forget this is button 3, so this is going to be number 3. Just there like that. And then we're going to have to connect this into that. Hit compile, and what we'll do is we'll just go through the rest of these. I'll just pause, go through the rest of these, and then we will come back and we'll get the screen to actually display what code is has been generated. Is in the array. Okay, so that's all done. Obviously you can see that here. So as we go through each button, so 5 presses 5, 4 presses 4, 3 presses 3, and then what they also do is they all connect to this update array index. Okay, that's great and all, but at the moment our display doesn't actually show us what numbers we've got going on, so this is kind of pointless. So obviously we've got our code just set here. Now what we're going to do is let's bind this. So let's create a binding, and I'm going to create, so at the moment this has created this get code text function. I'm just going to rename that to update and then code text, just like that. Just make it a little bit more appropriate. And what we want to do is we want to take the index, the array, the code array, and we want to get each item in this array. So obviously we want to get index 0, index 1, index 2, index 3, and then sort of combine all these together into a text, and then obviously that's going to update. So what we can do is, if you've ever used arrays before, you may be familiar that you can get a copy of whatever's in a particular index in the array. So in this array, index 0 is going to be 0, and in 1 is going to be 1, and 2 is 2, 3, and so on and so forth. So we can be a little bit cheeky and just say, well, why don't we just get one of each number? Now, knowing this is a 4-digit code, you can get away with this. So this is quite a manual process. What you could do, oh, that's not what I want. So, I think if you did sort of like a 5th one like that and connected it and told it to get a number that doesn't exist, I'm not too sure what would happen. So I'm not too sure how to grow it, but we've got a 4-digit. If you know you've got a 4-digit number or a 5-digit number, I'm pretty sure you're not going to change it on the fly in this scenario. So this way is going to work. But I didn't think about that. But if you do run into a scenario where you might need to change the code length at runtime, leave a comment down below and I'll think about a way around that. But I think that's going to be such a small amount of people that might need that, if anybody. I'm not going to consider about it now, but I might jot it down. Anyway, so we've got this input array, and in index 0, we're going to get a number, and then index 1, so let's change that to 1. And then in index 2, and then in index 3. So here we're going to get each of the numbers. Now, what we need to do is we need to convert this to a string. So if you type in toString, you will convert that. Duplicate that, and let's connect all of these up. Duplicate one more time, connect that there. Duplicate one more time, connect that there. And then obviously we need a text. So let's add all these numbers together. So you can do an append. Add a couple more pins. So add that to that, add that to that, add that to that. And then obviously, so now we're getting the first number, the second number, the third number, and the fourth number, or in index terms, 0, 1, 2, 3. We're adding them in a sequence together, so that's going to spit out our full number, but as a string. So we just need to plug, this return value into there, and it'll convert it into a text for us. Hit compile, and we won't be able to check this just yet because we need to add this to the screen, but because that's a binding, that's going to update instantly as soon as something changes. So we've got this updating code, and we've got each button cycling through and changing what numbers in each box. So let's go to our sliding door now, because we need to actually add this this thing to our screen. Just thinking about it, before we go ahead, we need to really center this code box because we don't want it to pop up in the top corner. Now, because we've put the size box on top of a canvas panel, the size box will have an anchor. And the good thing about this is we can anchor it to the center and tell it, wherever you are on the screen, let's stay in the center. So that's the benefit of using a canvas slot, is that you can tell it where you want it to be, which is really neat. But let's change the anchor to be the center, and then set the position to 0 and 0. But then you've noticed it's based on the top corner. So if you change the alignment to 0.5 and then 0.5, this is directly in the center of the screen. And the good thing about this is no matter what your screen size becomes, it'll always be centered. So that's really neat. That's why I like to do this, especially using the anchors, because it keeps your UI looking consistent. But what I want to do is I actually want to push it up a little bit. So I'm going to minus 100, just so it's not directly in the center, but it's just above center. Hit compile, and no matter when we add this to the screen, it's going to look right now. Let's go back to the sliding door, and I want this to pop up when we first overlap the box. So let's disconnect this. So if we overlap and we are a character, what do we want to do? We want to create a widget. So this widget is going to be our code lock. So let's find our code lock and compile. So great. So we're going to create this widget, but we're not adding it to our screen. Now, it might seem like when you create one, it should add it to the screen automatically. You don't. You can create it and not add it to your screen for a while, or you can add it directly to your viewport straight away, which is what we're going to do because we don't really need to mess around with anything. So I'm just going to add that to the screen. Great. Let's press play and see what happens. Purely just for testing, I'm going to press save. Let's just see if anything happens. So we run over and boom, we've got a code lock. Right, now great, let me click on something. It doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? It's because the game is expecting you to use the mouse to point the camera around. So we need to specifically tell it, no, there's a piece of UI that I want to click on now. So we need to change the UI mode. So to do that, we need to talk to the controller, the player controller. So get player controller, and oops, if you can spell it right, and the controller handles all of your input events, pretty much. So If you move the mouse and if you press a key on the keyboard, the controller has something to do about it. So within the controller, we can say set UI only mode. So this is saying there's a widget, and we want to be able to click on the UI only. So do that thing. So do we want to focus on a particular widget? Yes. So we can just drag this into the return value of this one. And if you want to make it look a little bit prettier, you can add a couple of reroute nodes just by double clicking on the line and add these little nodes. I'm going to leave a gap quite purposely. You'll see why in just a minute. Tell you what, let's move that out. Okay, so let's connect that up. So our controller, which is going to handle this, and then the widget that we want to focus on, just like that. Hit compile, hit play. So let's go over here and so I can see the buttons changing, but I can't see my mouse. So that's not. Oh, now I can. But my mouse was sort of like invisible for a second until I clicked. So again, from the player controller, we can do show cursor. So set show cursor and have that set to true. That way that the mouse is visible. Now obviously if you're doing something like VR, which was the case for Jay, who suggested this idea. You're on your own, buddy. I don't know what button to. I don't know what to do in that instance. Hopefully, if you're making a VR game, you'll know what to do. But I think you've always got a pointer around. I think you might just have to set the UI mode again, maybe. But you might not need to show the cursor. But for us with mice, we do. We need to set that. Okay, so we've set the UI mode, and we're pretty much ready to click. But the other thing, which I'm not going to test to show you, but effectively, if you run into the door, the your character keeps moving in the direction that you was pressing, because your movement gets locked by the fact that a UI is opened. It's weird, but the best thing to do is to get the controlled pawn and disable input. Disable input. Like that. We also need a reference to the controller, so like that and just like that. And plug that in there. So I like to line stuff up, so let's move that like that. And I'll tell you what we can do. Let's pop that like that and drag that into there so it looks a bit neater. And pop that like that. Okay, so we're going to overlap the box. It's going to show us a widget. It's going to show our mouse. We're going to be able to click on it. And we're also going to disable the input of the character so we can't run away whilst we're on here. So here goes nothing. So I'm going to press 9999 and we should get 9s going across the screen. 9, 9, 9, 9. Very good. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Very good. Okay, I like that. That works just as expected. But what if I want to clear it and I want to wipe all the previous bit away? Now let me just check what just happened there. 9999, and then if I press 1 I should get 1 straight away. Click. Okay, so I thought that was the case. So there's a bit of a delay, and I think I know why. I think I should have used a greater than or equal than. So in the update array index, we do yeah, there we go. So instead of a greater than, we want a greater than or equal to. Pop that in there like that. Oh, it's the wrong way around, so let's switch these around. So if the index is greater than or equal to the length, it's true. We'll do that. Compile. Let's just test it again. So we go 9999, and then if I press 1, it should be immediate. 1. Perfect. Okay, so we've got that updating. Obviously, we need a code to compare it to. Now, just to be cheeky as well, we also need a way of cancelling coming out of the screen or clearing the array. So if we go back to our event graph and we've not added our clear buttons yet, so let's do the clear button from the left and on pressed. Let's bring this up to the top so we don't have to go miles away for it. So here we go. So when we press clear, what do we want to do? So we've got this code array, and obviously down below here we set it an array element. Now we don't want to go through and change, we don't have to press clear 4 times to get zeros all the way across. So we can just do a 4 each, and this will loop through every item in the array. So obviously the array is 4, so this will loop 4 times, and every time we loop through this, we want to set an array element. Now, what array element do we want? We want this one. And again, just to be awkward, I'm going to make it look a bit nicer. And what index do we want? So the index, we can use this loops index, so it's going to go through and go, I'm at index 0, change this one. I'm at index 1, change this one. And if we leave it defaulted to 0, when we press the clear button now, it should set everything to 0. Now, what we also want to do, let's say we get halfway through our code, we make a mistake, we press the clear button, and then we start sort of typing our code in one more time. We don't want the index to resume halfway through, so let's also add the current index and set that to 0, just like that. Hit compile and play, run over, and at the moment it's 1, 2, 3, hit clear, and it resets it to 0. If we type number 1, it starts at the beginning. So that's our code log. Pretty neat. Now, also, we do all this. We set it to UI mode. We disable the input and all that sort of stuff. You might want to do the opposite of that afterwards. Now, because I've stupidly twice now, I have not included a close button. Please add a close button to yours and sort of have it properly. But for this video, because I've done it again, I thought to myself, I'm going to add a close button, but I haven't. I'm going to set the clear button to close. So that's how the clear button works by default, but mine's a little bit different, and I'm going to make mine close the UI at the same time. So untick show cursor. I need to change this UI mode to set to game only. I think it might be game and UI by default, but I'm probably so. And instead of disable input, we actually want to enable input. We don't want to disable it. It'd be pointless, won't it? Okay, and then there's actually one more thing that we need to do. Squeeze that over. We need to remove the code from the screen, the code lock. So let's do remove, from parent, like that. So it's going to remove the widget from its parent, which is going to be the screen that you use. So show cursor, set the UI mode back to game, enable input, and remove the widget from the screen. Let's test that. Let's run over, press clear. There you go. The UI disappears. So don't get the code, bugger, and then we go and run off. Brilliant. So we're not going to do the confirm button just yet because we don't have a generated code to confirm. So let's go back to our slide door now, and what we're going to do is we're going to generate that code. Now you might be able to guess how we're going to do this based on how we did the code array. Because it'd be good if we had 2 arrays to compare to each other. That's pretty much what we're going to do. So let's add a custom event, and this is going to be generate code like that. And for the code, what we're going to do is we also need to make an array. So let's add a variable inside our door and just put gen code array, keep it short, and let's change this to an integer. Obviously let's change the type, so you can either go over here and change this to an array, or just a quick tip, you can right click on this and it'll switch between a single and an array. So you can just right click on that, turn it into an array, and let's drag it out. So let's get that, and whoops. So by default, you probably want to compile, add 4 elements. So we've got 4 elements, and by default, I'm going to leave it as 0000. Let's call that the admin code. It's typically like the basic default code for most code locks, or 999 or something like that. Anyway, let's leave it like that. So what we want to do is we want to loop over this. So for each, pop that in. So we're going to loop through, and again, we're going to set array element. Just like that. Let's pop a reroute in here just to tidy it up a bit. Okay, so every time we loop through, we want the index. Now, the item. Ooh, so we don't want it to be 0. What would be a good idea is if we do random integer in range. So, we're going to want a random number between 0 and 9. So we're going to loop through this, and we're going to assign each number a random number. You can't get more random than that, can you? Well, you probably could, but let's not get into that. That's that's something else. Random numbers are not actually random, but that's a rabbit hole I don't want to get into. Anyway, so we have this generated array, and obviously just for you and me, let's let's print it on the screen so we can actually see what it is. So again, we can get a copy. Let's do this a couple of times, just like this. So array, whoops, array 1, array 2, array 3, array 3, index, sorry. Very good. Now let's append. Now if you want to be lazy, which is absolutely fine by the way, oops, just copy this from the other bit. Append string. So where we did this on the code lock, just copy the whole code, just change the array. Bit easier than what I'm doing. It's quicker, obviously. But I've already started this now, so I'm committing to it. I'm stubborn like that. Anyway, so there's our string, and then just for simplicity, let's do a print string. Just like that. Now, make sure you go from the completed, otherwise it's going to show you every number individually, whereas this way we can just print out each number. And when do we want to generate the code? So, to be honest, I'm probably going to generate the code as soon as we play the game. So, event begin play, let's copy that, drag that down here just to keep sort of stuff together. And we're going to generate a code. Generate code like that. So when the game begins, we're going to generate that code, and let's see what happens. So I'm just going to save because it's been a while now. Save as you go. So 8022, you might not have saw that. Let's just play again. It's going to be a different number now. So top left hand corner, 8975, 1779, and 3550. So we've got a random number being generated each time, which is absolutely perfect. Ooh, okay, so we're going to need a way of checking if the users inputted that code correctly. So obviously we're going to need, let's have a look, we're going to need something like this, but to check the generated code. Now at the moment, this code lock and the slide door don't really talk to each other, so let's change that. So if we go back to our code lock, now because we're generating the code within our door, and the door is also creating the widget for our door lock, we should just pass the code lock our generated code, and then it can do the comparison in there for us. So how do we pass in some information? So if we go to the code lock and we create a variable called gen code array, like that, and we make it exposed, editable and expose on spawn. So this is our code generator. Hit compile and go back to our slide door. When we create this lock, if we right click on it and refresh, you'll see now that gen code array, because it's now exposed and editable, we now have visibility of that at the point of creation. So let's get our gen code array variable and plug that in. So now every time this code lock opens, we're passing in the code that has been generated. Very good. So what we can do now, we're going to need this, so let's just be cheeky and copy all of this right now. And let's scroll up and let's create a function. So let's add a new function and let's do check codes match. Yep. Check codes match. Okay, so let's paste in our input code array. Now let's paste one more time. And instead of input code array, if you, not on the actual text, if you can see that the text has got this sort of blue square around it, if you right click anywhere outside that blue bit, there you go, you can replace this variable with gen code array. If that doesn't come up or you're struggling with that, just go down to your variables and drag in the code array and just plug that in instead. But there's just a quick way you can do it. You can just right click and replace. Okay, so we've got the input array and we've got the gen code array. So obviously we need to do a comparison of the two, and because they're both strings, we can do an equals equals equals. So this is, do these match exactly? And if that's true or false, we need a decision to be made. So we can say, if it's true, open the door. If it's false, don't do anything. But I don't really want to make that decision in here. I want this function. This function is called check codes match. That's all it should do. So let's click on this input node, scroll down, and we do want to add an output. So let's click on that. And luckily for us, or luckily for me, maybe you might not be the same, it's defaulted with a boolean, which is exactly what I want. But let's say it didn't. Add a parameter. Make sure it's boolean. And go, I don't know, match. Something like that, match. Pop that boolean into there. So effectively, wherever we put this node now, it's just going to output whether the codes match. Now, where do you think is an appropriate place to put that? When we press the confirm button, of course. So select your confirm button, on pressed. Let's bring that all the way up to the top, just like that. And what do we want to do? So literally just check the codes match. So let's just drag that function out, pop it into there. So when we press confirm, do the codes match, branch, just like that. If it's true, we want to open the door. Oh, open the door is not an option. How are we going to do that? So we need to kind of talk to the door now and say, yeah, you're good to go. Let's open that door for the user. So obviously at the moment we have nothing connected to play. So let's create a custom event and call this access granted. Oops, granted. Access granted, just like that, or open the door, anything like that, but access granted, you know, we're allowed to do this. Brilliant. Right, go back to your code lock and access granted. Oh, there's nothing there. So what we need to do is we need to get a reference to our door. Now, because the door is creating this code lock for us, we can just send a reference of ourselves in with it. So again, let's create a variable and let's do owning actor. And let's change this to an actor type. So it's a type of actor, and do an object reference. And we do not want an array, so change this back to single. Let's do it instance editable and expose on spawn. Hit compile. Go back to your slide door. look for your create widget blueprint code lock and refresh. Owning actor. Pass in self, just like that. Now, to be fair, I should have checked. Bit of a rookie move here, but get owning player. I guess I could have just used that, to be fair. That says self. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, that might have been a noob move from me. Just try that out. Let's check it. But I've already done it now. So owning actor. Let's grab that. Now, I know that this owning actor is definitely going to be my slide door. So I'm going to cast to. I'm going to do cast to BP slide door. So if our things match is true, connect to cast to the slide door. And I know my slide door has an access granted node, which we now have access to because by casting to it, you effectively become it in some respect. So when you cast to a blueprint or an actor, you gain access to everything within inside it. So casting, basically, I've become the slide door, and because the slide door has access granted within it, I can access that just fine. And if we move this button back just a little bit, once we've got access granted, then we can also get rid of the UI, give the character his ability to move, and remove the code lock from the screen. Let's test it. Hit play. The number is 9279. 9279. Confirm. And the door opens. Brilliant. We run through, and then the end overlap event kicks in. Very good. So, 927. Oh, I've already forgot. Terrible memory. Terrible short-term memory. Anyway, so the door opened. We had the code. So we've pretty much got a code lock. It's random. However, we don't really want it printing on the top left of the screen. So with that being said, we should probably create sort of like a code clue. Now, I'm going to create just a text renderer that shows the number, but you can set up different bits and pieces, sort of like, I don't know, maybe a book with some text in, or I don't know, something a bit more interesting than just a bit of text on the screen. However, let's create a new blueprint class, actor, and BP underscore, whoa, that was a bad time to save, BP underscore clue actor, just like that, actor. Okay, so inside your clue actor, I'm just going to add a text renderer. Bit of text, and I am going to center align and text center on that. And yep, that's pretty much it. My text, I'm just going to default to 000 like that, which is worst case scenario. Our code is going to be 0002. And let's go over to the event graph. For a second then I forgot how I did it. On the event begin play, with a little bit of a delay, because we need enough time for the code to have actually generated. You know, we don't want to do it instantly at the same time as the code, because it on the event begin play for our door, we're saying generate the code. So if on the event begin play for the clue actor, we say set the code, it might do it. This clue actor might run split seconds before the generated code, and therefore we won't have a code, and it'll just say 000. So if we just wait, text renderer, we're going to then set the text. Here we go, and that requires a text input value. So we're going to need to string like that, and then what string are we going to input? So we need a string for our code clue like that. I should probably change this to code clue text like that, and let's change it to a string type. Let's make it editable and expose on spawn and hit compile. and drag that into this. Now, this alone doesn't actually do it. However, we're going to sort of connect to this code clue, this clue code thing, clue actor, and we're going to set it manually. So you'll see in just a sec. So hit compile, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a couple of these in the game. Now, obviously, you can spread them around, but just for the purpose of this game, this video, I'm just going to pop 3 of them here. So if you hold Alt and move them, you create a duplicate. So I've got 3 of the same actor here. Now I need to connect these to my door, so they sort of share the same generated code. So let's go back to the door. And what we're going to do is we're going to, you can either create an array or you can just create 3 of the same thing, but effectively clue actor 1. And let's change the type to BP underscore clue actor. So it can only be one of these. And this wants to be a single. So change that to single. So again, you can even make an array of them and add it to the array. Or you can just do single ones like this. So duplicate. If you've got lots of them, do an array. I'm just going to do 3 for now. So I'm just going to do them singular. And that's absolutely fine. So hit compile. And obviously I need to sort of assign all of these something in the world. So editable, expose on spawn. I should have done this on the first one, to be honest, and just duplicated them all. Instance editable and expose on spawn on all of them. Hit compile. Go back to your game. So your level. And you'll see now on the door, with the door selected, you'll see clue actor 1, clue actor 2, clue actor 3. So you can pick all of them. So that's the first one, that's the second one, and that's the third one. So all 3 of these are now referenced in your slide door. So what we can do is, where's our generated code? So here we go. So we generate the code, and we're sort of printing out this string. So what we can do is we can say get the clue actor and set code clue to the exact same value here. Oops, missed. Just like that. So at the moment we're only setting 1 of them, so let's just trial it. So let's press play, and okay, that's good. So they're all backwards. Should have known that was going to happen. So let's just spin that around by 180, spin that around by 180, and spin that around by 180. Oops, too far. Hit play again, and you can see 4946, 4946. Hit confirm, and the door opens. Brilliant. So we know that works. Now, what if you want 2 of these to be fake, but 1 of them to be true? Now, you don't want to pick the same one every time, and because we've got these clues now, we don't need we don't really need this to be printing the string. I'm going to keep it, but just because it makes it easier for me to figure out which one's real. But obviously, don't forget to delete your print string. Okay, so at the moment we're just setting 1 of them to be the correct one with this set text. Now, this is actually going to become really useful. So I'm going to create a couple more, just like this. But what we want to do is we want to drag clue actor 2, clue actor 3, and I want to pick one of these at random. So what we can do is we could do select int. Whoops. Select int. Where is it? Oh, it's not select, it's switch. Switch on int. There we go, switch on int. Okay, so how many actors do we have? We have 3. So let's do a random in range. So I either want 0, 1, or 2. So let's add some pins. Here we go. 0, 1, or 2. So minimum is going to be 0 and my maximum is going to be 2. So pick one at random, and then whichever number gets picked, we're going to go down this list appropriately. Very good. So if it randomly picks, let's just press play. Let's just see what happens. I'm just going to save it quickly. So it's going to pick one of these at random. Oh, and we've not actually told it to put a number in. So let's get this reroute. Just type in the word reroute, make it look a bit prettier. Let's plug this into there like that. Okay, it looks awful, but I'll leave you to tidy it up. This video is getting long. Hit play. So that one's been picked this time. Let's play again. That one's been picked this time, and then that one's been picked again. So what do we do with the other ones? So obviously, if number 1 is picked, we want number 2 and 3 to be fake. So what we could do is pop these in here like that. Should I make it neater-ish? We're gonna have horrible lines everywhere, so we're gonna pull that into there like that. And we're gonna need like a random number to be generated between these. So what we could do is random int in range. Let's set this to 1000, so we get the 4 digits, and then 999 to string. To string. And every time one of these sets called, it'll grab a new random number each time. So these won't be the same number set to both of them. Okay, so if that one's picked, it's going to set 2 and 3 to random numbers. If let's just copy these, duplicate. If number 2 is picked, we want number 1 to be random and number 3. And we want this random number to be picked. Again, you can already see it's going to look horrible. And then finally, if the third one's picked, we then want number 1 and number 2 to be picked randomly. Okay, so here we go. So we've got whichever's picked, the others are set to a random number. Let's hit play. Very good. So which one's the real number? Now, obviously, because I'm still printing to string on the screen, I know that it's the back one. So 0217, was it? I can't believe I didn't read that. 0271, 0271, hit confirm, and the door opens. So the other ones are dummy numbers. So obviously you can use these now to hide them around your game. You know, you can have clues hidden around. Well, they're not clues. They're fake numbers. You know, they don't exist. And let me guess, they've been unloaded already. So they've disappeared. Unreal. Literally, Unreal is unreal sometimes. It's already unloaded them from the game, and it's anyway, I'm deviating. So that's pretty much it. We're pretty much done. So we've got the code lock, the sliding door, the random codes, and we're sort of checking if the code matches the inputted code, and the door opens. So I hope that was useful. Obviously, this was intended for beginners in some respect. That's why I've gone into a lot of detail with everything. If this was helpful for you, please let me know down in the comments. You know, obviously the same applies if it's the opposite. If it was absolute trash, let me know. If you're going to press dislike, again, let me know. Obviously, if I don't know what I've done, I can't get better. But if I've done that bad, you've probably not made it to this part of the video. But if you have, thank you very much. Again, if you need any support either with this project or anything else, you can join the Discord. This video was birthed from there. So obviously you know, we've got quite a big community over there, and everyone gets a chance to ask the questions. Feel free to comment. Feel free to subscribe if you want to see more content like this. and the rest is up to you. So have a great day, and I appreciate you watching all the way to the end. And I've accidentally opened up Photoshop, so I'm going to close down the video now. Thank you, goodbye.